Mayoral Memo with Matthew Dickerson from Dubbo Regional Council.
To 8 here on 2 to you, Brekkie. It's a Friday. Happy Friday to you. Talking Dubbo Council, extra bin services, housing shortages and council footpaths. There's always lots happening in local government. Joining us to get us up to date on all the latest, it's Dubbo Mayor Matthew Dickerson. Mr Mayor, good morning to you.
Good morning, Matt. How are you going? All the big issues you've touched on there?
Well, it's what I'm all about, is the big issues, Mr Mayor, as you know. In fact, I want to start with an even bigger issue, some might say, and that is the upcoming state election. Now, I asked you deliberately because the previous election, 2019, you ran as an independent. Moving forward to today, so far we've got 3 candidates. One for the Nationals in the incumbent, Dougal Saunders, of course. One for Labor in your councillor colleague at present, Mr Josh Black. And Kate Richardson for the Shooters, Fishers and Farmers. No independents, only those 3 so far. Mr Dickerson, will you be running in the upcoming state election?
I can give it to you here first, Matt. Definitely not. I've got a job to do as mayor, and I think if I stood for the state government election, that would undermine the work that I'm trying to do as mayor. So I can tell you here categorically that in the 2023 state election, you will not see my name on the ballot sheet.
Breaking news, folks. You heard it here first. Matthew Dickerson will not be running.
There you go. The only way you'll see my name there is if you get the pen and write my name there on the ballot sheet.
Looking forward to defacing all of your core flute signs.
Yeah, sorry to give you that disappointment.
All right, we appreciate that. Do you think we'll see any independents, or is it a bit late to start a run now?
I would like to see independents. I'd like to see a lot of people on the ballot sheet. It's part of the great thing we've got in this democracy, that really with very few resources you can stand and put your name there and be part of that whole democratic process. So I'm a bit surprised, I must admit, Matt. You've mentioned already only 3 people there. We're not that far away. It's the end of March, so it's not that far away. In 2019, we certainly had more people standing, and people were standing much earlier. So it does seem like a slightly different flavour to this election. Not sure exactly why that is, but it's different anyway. I'm hoping there'll be some more people put their hand up, and again, just to see that competition, and then the best person can win.
Looking at 2019, 7 candidates there were, and so far we've got even less than half.
Yeah, that's right. And I remember from my perspective, it was May the previous year, so May 2018, that I'd made my announcement. You had other parties bring forward their candidates, certainly around the later time frame, maybe November, December. But by February, by the middle of February, we pretty much knew all of them. There might have been one extra person that came in after this sort of time frame, but gee, it's not that far away, is it?
It's I remember talking to a federal politician once, and he said you need a big run up on the plane, tarmac. You need a big run up, and referring to the fact that you need to be campaigning for some time. 5 weeks is not enough time, surely.
Especially if you haven't come forward at this stage and you haven't really campaigned at all, then yeah, gee, you'd really need to be getting there and getting them. I'd almost go so far as to say, Matt, that if you made an announcement this late, it's almost running out of time to get enough momentum together with that campaign, exactly as you said, with that run-up, to really make a really big difference, because you do need that run-up, you do need time. And I remember from when I campaigned, it's a big area. It goes out to Trengy, it goes to Mudgee, obviously around Wellington, Dubbo. It's a big area to cover, and I spent a lot of time in the car getting around, meeting people, knocking on doors, talking to people. So you need a fair bit of time to cover all of that.
All right, let's put a pin in that one for now and talk local government. Extra green bin service, obviously we got hammered with the Thursday storms last week. So extra green bin service going out tonight for tomorrow morning, eh?
That's something we considered, a few different options there. We would have loved to have done an extra green curbside pickup, the thing that we do obviously throughout the year, where you can actually just put out any of your green rubbish and we come along and pick it up. But obviously when the storm hit, when we talked to contractors, they were all tied up with a whole range of other work, so we couldn't get them to do that job in a very short term without paying a huge amount of money. Our staff, sure, that was an option, but our staff are pretty busy doing things like fixing roads, so taking them off their other normal duties was an issue. So we did open up, as you remember, the idea of taking out your green waste for free, which ends this Sunday actually. So you can take that out to the tip and drop off your green waste that's been damaged in the storm. So if you had some branches come down, had a tree come down, whatever it might be, you can take that out to the waste and to the tip, and you won't get charged for that. We also then looked at some other way to help people, and we analysed the data. We got some information from the SES, worked with them, and then looked at the data of where people were coming from to drop their rubbish off to the tip. And we found 70% of people came through that Eastridge area, and the SES backed that up with their heat map of where all the calls were coming from. So what we did with that was we thought if we could do something extra to help some people in Dubbo was maybe a green waste collection bin, and so we focused that around that Eastridge area, around where the heat map showed that most of the damage was done. So that's that extra service you've got. It's only a once off, and you're right, tomorrow morning we'll do that pickup of that green bin from that area only.
All right, and just adding to what you said then, Sunday afternoon, 4:45 is the last chance to take your green waste. Only the remnants from last week's storm, by the way. Don't take your lawnmower clippings down there. Well, you can, but you'll be charged for them, obviously. Now, Mr. Mayor, we've had a number of listeners phone in regarding footpath clean-up. The street cleaners go up and down the footpaths. Obviously, I've seen them through the CBD, but listeners have told me they come through the residential footpaths as well, but seem to do particular routes, certain footpaths and not other footpaths. For example, one listener said they see them on the other side of the road, but never on their side of the road. Now, I'm just throwing this one on you now. I didn't prep you on this, but are you aware that the street cleaners do a particular route?
Are you talking about cleaning up from the storm, or you're talking about just general?
In general.
Yeah. I would be very surprised if our street cleaners did any of the footpaths in residential areas. The footpaths generally are left to the residents that live in behind that footpath. So if you've got a footpath out the front of your place, we'd like the resident there to get a broom every now and again and just keep that a bit clean, or just tidy it up a little bit. So I'm not aware, and I'd probably need to know specific locations, but in general, in residential areas, we don't have our staff going along and cleaning up the footpaths, even mowing the lawns out the front of those people's places. That's something that we generally don't do, just we don't have the resources to do that. So I'd be interested to know exactly where some of those were.
Okay.
Yeah, so I'm not much help to you, sorry, on that one.
Off air with you. But those street cleaners, though, they do go across all the CBD footpaths across Dubbo.
So across the CBD, yes, we have street cleaners that do the streets, obviously, and also we have footpath cleaning done, and it might even be done by contractors in some of those areas there where the footpaths are cleaned and just cleaned on a regular basis. We'd love it to be done more. We'd love our footpaths to be shiny all the time, but the reality is it just comes down to budget and resources. But certainly our footpaths around the CBD are clean on a regular basis.
All right, and finally, housing shortages. It's on the tip of everyone's tongue, isn't it? Now, you're the chair of the Regional Cities New South Wales group, and you've been in the news recently talking about housing shortages in the Dubbo region. Can you extend on that for us?
Yeah, and I'm happy to expand on that a little bit further and put my regional cities hat on. That's a group that's got 15 regional cities, obviously, in that group. And we identify a range of things that we think would be important for the state government to look at as part of the election. And certainly regional housing in general is an issue. And what is really exciting, all of those 15 cities, which represents a population of somewhere in the vicinity of 1 million people, we've all got a similar problem in that lots of people want to move out of metro areas into those regional locations, which is fantastic. So one of the things that we want to make sure, though, is when people do wake up and realise that it's a better place to live, we want to make sure they've actually got somewhere to live. So we don't want to have people moving out to regional areas and then find, I've got nowhere to live. And there's a range of strategies that we've put forward in an election document to give to both the government and the opposition, which we've done that already, to say, here are some of the things that we think you need to address. And we've got a number of those things in that information that you would have seen come out. Some of those things relate to the advanced infrastructure. So, for example, we just got $9.23 million to put some infrastructure in the ground to develop that entire northwest area there for residential living, about 6,000 blocks of land. That's the sort of thing that we're talking about happening, which is great for Dubbo, but we want to see that happen in more places across the state, in more of those regional cities. We also talk about just some of the things that might happen. For example, you've got some areas of Crown land in some areas, and this doesn't so much apply to Dubbo, but some areas of Crown land that aren't being used in any effective way whatsoever, and it's hard for people to see that land ever being used for public areas. Converting some of that over to residential living makes sense as well. So there's a few different strategies we've got that can help regional housing be a better way to go. One of the other things that you see is that the number of planners that all of us have in regional areas is a real struggle. So working at some way to deliver more planners. So when builders put development applications in to build some of these houses, we need to get those out quicker, and we need sometimes some help from Planning New South Wales to get that to happen a bit quicker. Regional people are much smarter because they've realised that why would you spend an hour in the car each day to work? Why not spend 5 minutes in the car on the way to work? So many advantages in living regionally, Matt. I could talk to you about it for an hour.
There certainly is, and I don't doubt that at all. Mr. Mayor, we appreciate the updates. Have a fantastic weekend, won't you?
Thank you very much. Chat to you next week.
Mayoral Memo with Matthew Dickinson from Dubbo Regional Council.